Hello, my name is Julia Mikk. I'm your host for your Deepest Fulfillment Telesummit, a powerful masterclass series where I interview over 21 world-renowned healers, teachers, coaches, and mindfulness experts, all to help you to drop your excuses and step into the radiance and power of your most sacred purpose. Right now, I'm so happy to interview an incredible human entrepreneur, gifted teacher whose name is Liesl Rigsby. Liesl is a gifted spiritual teacher who has a master's degree in education. She's known as the energetic matchmaker for her ability to intuitively see what women need to shift in order to build a life of deeply fulfilling and lasting love. She's the creator of the internationally renowned Soulmate School and supports women in finding love through her online courses, public speaking, and private coaching. Liesl has helped women all over the world clear their energetic blocks to divine partnership. Thanks to her, there are many women out there who now have deeply loving, aligned relationships. Her passion is to help women just trust their heart as their guiding force, because as she says, when you touch the depth of love that lives within you, anything is possible. Anything is possible. What a great place to start our time together. Thank you for being here, Liesl.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so happy to be joining you.
I want to read that again. That was so good. When you touch the depth of love that lives within you, anything is possible. Wow. Tell us more about that.
Well, we have, and I'm sure, you know, just by who you bring in your audience and all the people I've seen in your summit, I'm sure I'm not saying anything that your listeners don't already have some connection to. We have this massive, profound depth of love within us that we have access to all the time. And I think everybody who meditates or is on a spiritual path has moments or glimpses or maybe long periods of time where you feel that. And I know for me, the more I cultivate it, the more that I'm in it on a regular basis, the more that I move into that deep sense of flow with love, things open, life expands. It just, like right now I'm in Bali and I'm working and my life is flowing and I have this freedom, and it didn't come from push, and it didn't come from like, I'm going to make that happen. It came from opening and softening and allowing and being in that receptivity of love and connection. So I think we all have that. It's our birthright to have access to that amount of love, and finding the ways that work for you to open and cultivate and deepen that relationship, to me, is the whole purpose of life. Because then from there, everything gets much, much easier.
Right. Was that part of also your journey of stepping into bigger purpose? Did it come through you surrendering?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, actually, this is not a story I always tell, but I feel called here. So I had been always dabbling in spirituality, like it was my hobby. It was like this play over here. So I had this very, kind of normal job. I was working at a community college, and I was, very supported in my, healthcare and my, retirement plan and all of that. But I wasn't really fulfilled. And then when my husband and I got pregnant with our first child, he passed away 2 days after he was born. And it was, of course, the biggest trauma of our lives. And it was also a massive spiritual awakening. And we were really gifted with this connection to him and this connection to spirit in a way that transcended anything. I'd always believed that we were one. I'd always had that knowing or that feeling or that, intellectual belief. And then we were gifted with the experience of feeling that completely on the day that he passed, and for a couple of weeks after. And I actually really heard it very clear. My intuition came online so strongly right after that. It had always been there a bit, but it was like the channel it's as if he came through me and opened up the channel. And I heard really clearly, it's time for you to do the work that you're meant to do in the world. It's time for you to help people to connect to their higher selves. And I quit my job and I began a healing practice, and I never looked back. It was just always in this okay. And the love and the flow and the light and the divinity that came through in that experience gave me so much trust. And it was a real gift. And I know that that's not a common gift to receive, especially in that way. But and I was also really blessed that my husband, Craig, had the same experience. So we were able to validate that even over the years. We can go back and say, remember that, like, come back to that. So I think that oftentimes trauma, if we are in a place that we can be supported in it and open to it, trauma can really be an opener to love. I look at trauma as like a backhoe digging out like this more space for more love and light to come into this vehicle or this vessel. Did I answer your question? I know I went a little.
Yeah. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I wonder, was it a conscious choice to shift from being traumatized by a death of your baby to actually seeing it as a spiritual awakening, or did it just happen to you, or was it did it require like a deliberate reframing in your own mind?
I think it was both. We had we had that gift of the energy that came through on the day that he died. Like we were laying together holding hands and said, let's connect with his spirit. And because we were going to take him off of life support. And so let's connect with him. And then we were lifted out of our bodies and brought into this beautiful light in that moment. So there was that was the initiation. It wasn't a mental, we're going to look at this trauma as a gift. So we were given that gift. And then it was the continually making that choice again and again and again and again to come back and not, and allow both of us allowing ourselves to grieve, and especially me, I think, because of my body being, much more connected to him. But really allowing the grief and also looking at the gift, like, how is this for us? How is this for me? Yeah. So it's both.
How is this for us? How is this for me? That sounds like the golden question.
Always.
I'm listening to this now, they have so many reasons why they cannot step up into their bigger purpose or follow the dream or follow their calling. There's all kinds of legitimate reasons, and some of them might be traumas, old pains. But you are saying, Lisa, ask, how is this difficulty for me? How is this created for me? And how can it be helpful for me actually living my bigger reason to be on the planet?
Yeah.
Wow. And one thing I really appreciate about you and that I have witnessed in your world is this incredibly solid, what looks like very solid relationship of 17 years, right? With your husband.
Yeah.
And you seem to be so supportive of each other. Like, how about you tell us about that, about relationships that truly support the bigger dream coming into manifestation?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have a perspective on relationship of growth. And, I heard something recently. I'm listening to a podcast on relationship, and the woman said, men come into relationship expecting that women will not change, their woman will not change, and women come into relationship expecting that their man will change. It's very stereotypical and very heterosexist, but I thought that it made me laugh, and I realized, like, that's something I hear a lot. Like, women are like, but I see his potential, or I see, and men are like, okay, this is what I'm getting, right? And I think if we both come into relationship with the idea that we're both going to grow, and we're going to evolve, and we're going to continue to shift and change, because humans do, some don't, some stay exactly the same. But I think for your listeners, everybody who's drawn to this work and this path everyone's on this, like, okay, how do I open more? How do I grow? And so I think the idea of looking at relationship as a vehicle for growth, all relationship, not just romantic relationship, every relationship, like, relationship with parents, relationship with siblings, relationship with coworkers and friends. If you can see this relationship is here for my growth, it changes that whole dynamic that we can be in easily, a victim, or that person's doing something. Or one of my mentors said to Craig and I, maybe 10 years ago, we were having a challenge, a bicker about something. And she said, it's 100% your responsibility, she said to me. And I said, no, he. And then she said to him, it's 100% your responsibility. And we had gotten into this, particular rut where we were blaming. And when we remember that, when I come back to it's 100% my trigger, my emotion, my vulnerability, whatever's going on within me right now, it's easy to say he did or she did or my friend did or my dad did or whatever. But if I take 100% responsibility for my trigger, my emotion, my vulnerability, it shifts everything. So it's not always easy to do. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a master at it by any means, but that's the that's the foundation, is 100% responsibility. And the other thing that we often ask each other is, when we're being triggered, when something's up, we have a practice of asking each other, what's the vulnerability? What are you feeling vulnerable about? What's really there? Because always when there's a trigger, even if it's just, you left the toilet seat up, or you put the towel on the floor, or you didn't clean up the kitchen, there's always a deeper vulnerability in that trigger. So finding that, diving in a little deeper.
Could you bring an example? Like, what would vulnerability mean? Would it be like exposing a fear?
Yeah. Exposing a fear, so for example, like for me, one of the vulnerabilities that I have is, so Craig and I have this dynamic where when I get vulnerable, when I feel scared, I want grabby, I get needy. I'm like, come, come, come. And when he feels that, he feels like, oh, and he wants to leave. And so he'll leave because he feels he hates that grabby energy, and he'll leave. And so the vulnerability in me is like, oh, I'm being abandoned. I'm not loved. I'm not lovable. And I get really triggered and can get really deep in that. And for him, the vulnerability is like, I need to go, like, I need to be safe. I need to close in. So his vulnerability is like, everybody's needing too much from me. There's like too much pull. I don't have enough resource. I don't have enough. I'm not strong enough to hold all of that. Just in that. So those like, that's that push-pull moment that we'll have where we both are having this vulnerability. And now we've learned, okay, we can speak the vulnerability. I can say, like, I'm really feeling abandoned. I'm feeling terrified. I'm feeling alone, and it's a deeper, old wound, really from birth, if I take it all the way back. From my own birth. And I think, that's something we could talk about. I could talk about for a long time, but we all have, most of us who are not born at home with a midwife in a loving situation have have birth trauma. So that sets the pattern up. But so that deeper vulnerability of being abandoned can come up in many ways. Like even just in like, you didn't take care of me in this particular way, or, you didn't check in with me. You went out for this long hike and you didn't call or you tell me that you were going to be gone that long. And I can get this feeling of like, can't believe you didn't check in. But really, if I go underneath it, it's, you abandoned me, you're leaving me, something's going to happen to you, and I'm going to lose you, and then I'll be alone. So that's the deepest place for me that always gets hit, is that deep abandonment. That's my...
And to reveal it to the other, that this is what's actually happening in me, to not defend, to not protect, but to fully be parent.
Yeah.
And clearly this works. You have been in 17-year amazing relationship. You have a daughter and you have traveled the world. And how has this kind of harmonious connection helped you really live your bigger dream and bigger purpose for both of you?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm so blessed in is to have, to be with a man who really wants me to be as big in the world as I feel called to be. And I think so many women are conditioned, we've been conditioned and trained to be small, to be polite, to not take up too much space, to not make too much noise, to not ask too much. And what I feel in my relationship is he is like under here going, go, 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 go. And so it allows me to step fully in. I don't apologize for my bigness. Where growing up, I always got the story and the message I was too big, because I have a big personality. I am loud. I am, I am a lot. And to have done enough healing work before I met him, thank goodness, because I did have a lot of relationships with men who were like, shh, tone it down. But to have done that work and be able to bring in a man who says, no, go bigger, it's such a support. And I think the same for me with him. It's lifting. I want you to do the work that you're meant to do in the world. And we both have a very clear intention that we're here to serve. We're here to make the world a better place. We're here to bring our gifts in whatever that looks like. It's different for both of us, but there's a similar thread. And so I think being in this relationship, as I don't know that I could be doing the work that I'm doing in the world without him holding. I mean, of course there's a way I could, but it lifts me, and it's like he holds this deep foundation underneath me, and I hope I do the same for him. That's my intention. Yeah.
I think this is such an important conversation because primary relationship is a very big part of our lives, right? A husband or boyfriend or just living together, whatever it is, it's such a big part of our life. And if this doesn't support our bigger purpose, our bigger dream, like it's just unsupported, it's going to be very hard to manifest what we really want.
Yeah.
We are here modeling, we're saying that this is possible. It's possible to be fully supported by your significant other. And it's possible to be supported in your bigness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, it's like how we do relationship, to me, is how we do everything. Right? Like, because it is the most vulnerable place. It's like where your heart is the most tender, the most, so it's as if you can enter, and I don't mean that in a critical way. If you have a challenging relationship, or you have a hard time in love, it's not that I'm saying that you're not successful in other areas of your life, but how we do relationship with our hearts, I should say, is how we do everything. So it's like coming into being brave, being vulnerable, being willing to shed those layers and take responsibility. Sometimes it's really scary for me. Like, I want him to be at fault. I don't want to let him off the hook and say, here's my vulnerability. I want to be guarded and protected. And yet the more that I can say, no, I'm going to open. This is my purpose. I'm here to open and live aligned with love. I'm here to be in this divine connection. The more that I trust that and follow that and do that, the more every area of my life opens. My work, my health, my relationships, my connection with God. So to me, relationship is the vehicle to spiritual path. But it's always been my passion to discuss relationships and look at, and obviously that's my work, is so that's my purpose.
Yeah, I do hear how you're making the relationship, or not making, but you're allowing the relationship to be a catalyst for like your polishing, your inner cultivation of your connection to God, connection to love, remembering who you really are. And then you take this amazing woman that you are into the world and benefit the world and help others. I like that. I like that. Did you start your relationship like this, that you both agreed immediately that, okay, we are together in order to grow? Or did that come later?
No, I think we did begin that way, because we have both, you asked me this before and I got off on a tangent, sorry. we came together, we were both intentionally single when we met. We both had said, like, I'm not doing a relationship anymore. We both had a really, it was ironic, really, or perfect. We both had our most challenging relationships right before we met each other. And so we both had really bottomed out in relationship and consciously said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. So Craig had intended to be, I'm going to be celibate until I get clear about this. And I was the same. I'm going to not be in partnership. I'm not going to open up to men until I figure out why I'm creating the same thing over and over again. So when we met, we actually had been friends years past, and then we reconnected and we went out as friends for the first time. We didn't know if it was a date, and we were both clear about what we wanted in life, that we were on a spiritual journey, that we were looking for, our connection to divinity, and that we weren't looking for a relationship because we didn't want to be distracted. And so in deciding to enter into partnership together, that was a priority for us. Like, okay, this is something we're coming into with our intention, is to keep our connection with spirit here.
Wow.
I think it's a rare dynamic in that I met a man was more on a spiritual path than I was. Like he took me along, where usually it's my experience with working with so many people over the years is that usually it's the woman who's inviting the man into this conversation. But for me, we were both in the conversation, but he was further down the road.
Yeah. And you say that being committed to spirit first and foremost. and then letting everything else serve that, including letting relationships serve that. So the relationship is not a distraction, but is more like an ally and catalyst to connect to spirit even more.
Yes.
Yeah, that's such a powerful intention. Do you have any specific tools or something to give the listener right now if they're not quite sure how to create that supportive partnership? Maybe they are already in a partnership, but they don't feel supported. They feel they cannot be fully big and fully expressed, or they want to create that partnership and really want to feel supported on the path.
Yeah. Would you like me to go into a process?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take some deep breaths and close your eyes. And take a moment to feel into and breathe into your heart center. So not so much the physical heart, but the energetic space in the center of your chest. And actually, let's drop a grounding cord first. So just imagine that you're growing a root out of your tailbone down into the earth, like a tree root, just growing down, 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 getting your body here in the center. It's always, I think, really important to get grounded before we do any energetic work, because it brings us into our body and allows it to be more embodied, the work that we're doing. And I like to take that grounding cord, that root, all the way down into the energetic heart of the earth. And I envision a big, beautiful crystal waiting for me there to wrap around and really anchor into. And if you have your own grounding practice, just go ahead and do that now. And if it feels like something new for you, just imagine that you're like a tree growing roots down into the earth from the base of your spine, out of your feet even. Good. Okay. And now feel into your heart. And imagine a wall around your heart. Imagine that there's a fortress, a protection, a barrier, a place that keeps your heart safe. And just see if you can envision that wall, whatever it looks like. Maybe it's glass, maybe it's brick, maybe it's like a medieval fortress. See what your heart protection is. And we have this ironic catch-22 here, where we have this protection around our hearts to keep us safe, but it also keeps love out. So I want you to just bring awareness to that wall, notice it, see what it looks like. No judgment. There's a critic that comes in and wants to say, it should be smaller, it should be, why is it there? Oh my goodness, I'm so isolated. Whatever the story is, just be gentle and loving. Like, I put this here, I created this wall to protect myself because of the wounds that I experienced as a child or earlier in my life, or even potentially in a past life. So really just notice and feel it. And now I want you to imagine a star above your head. And that star represents the heart of Source, the heart of the All, the heart of God, the heart of the universe, the heart of love, whatever resonates for you in that oneness energy. And I want you to allow golden light to pour down from that star into the crown of your head. And that light represents unconditional love. Let that unconditional love flow through the midline of your body all the way down to that grounding cord. So imagine that you have gold light pouring in the top of your head. It feels to me like warm, liquid honey pouring down to the grounding cord, so that you're connected from the earth all the way through you into Source, and from Source all the way through you into the earth. And now simply bring unconditional love to that wall. Imagine that love from Source coming in, and that gold light surrounding the wall, simply loving it, not trying to knock it down, not trying to change it, just bringing love. This is the first step. Awareness and loving what is, loving what's there. And just take a few moments to breathe that love into your heart space, into the wall, into the protection. Beautiful. And set the intention that even once you open your eyes, you're still connected to this continuous, what I call column of light from the heart of the earth, all the way through you into the heart of source, and source all the way through you into earth. And that unconditional love continues to feed this wall around your heart. Let it continue to nourish and feed and bring love to this wall. As you gently move your fingers and your toes and come back to your body in this present moment.
Mm. Well, my mind is very empty right now.
Good. That's that beautiful feminine.
So this meditation just took us through was in response to my question, how to allow more support in a relationship, specifically, how to have a supportive relationship. So how is this kind of self-love practice and this kind of energetic practice useful for that?
So when we have the heart wall that everybody really does, there's always a protection around the heart to some degree. We are keeping ourselves separate from love. We're keeping ourselves separate from the other. We're keeping ourselves protected and safe, but it doesn't allow a depth of intimacy. And so it's like that part that is craving for that deep, unconditional love and partnership and being witnessed and being seen. This wall keeps it away. It's like, don't come in, don't come too close, stay out there. And you're energetically giving the message. If you're single, you're energetically giving the message, my heart's not open to relationship. My heart's not, I'm not willing to receive. I say it, I think it, I want it, but this here is giving the message loud and clear that, nope, it's not quite inviting here. You can come, but then you're going to bump up against that protection that's there. So it's learning how to soften it, to love it, to transform it in a way where you are fluid. So you can still protect yourself. It doesn't mean you're just walking around with your heart wide open, ready for anyone to trample on it. But it's with love. Your protection is infused with this love so that you are receptive to receiving love from your current partner, to opening to love from a new partner.
And then would you say it extends out to receiving love and support from colleagues, possible ventures, strangers, clients?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I move through the world in this way, my practice lifts, my, just the engagement I have at the grocery store, like the relationships I have with friends and family, my health, everything shifts to me when I'm in this place of openness and flow and love. Yeah, it really supports my work. I know whenever I'm in a place of my work isn't going the way I want it to, I know that what I need to do is come back to my heart, come back to my presence, come back to my connection. Because anytime I try to make a decision in my business where I am pushing or thinking this is how it should be done, or comparing, looking at anyone else's business model, looking at any other way to do things, everything shuts down. So what I've learned through many times of banging my head is, no, I have to be in this place. I have to move here first. And then I can use my masculine mind to get things, to move it forward, to send the email, to build the landing page, whatever it is. But I have to start from this connection. If I don't, it fails.
And what I hear you say also is basically when you connect with your own self-love and connect to spirit and just pure love, that's your nature, like your work becomes an expression of this love. This is how I perceive your words. Like your love flows out of you into the world, and then it becomes the bigger purpose or business or whatever it is you're creating. Yes. But it's the depth of your love that's expressing itself, and you're allowing it.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this piece. I think it's very important because many people are trying to figure out the technique or have a formula or template, and you're modeling this pure intelligence of love that knows what to do next. It knows where to go. You just need to listen.
Yeah. And when I'm in that place, that's when the right support shows up. You know, so it's not to say that you just have to be in love and flow through and do it by yourself. Mm-hmm. It's when I'm in love in this connection, that's when a mentor comes in, or that's when the right, you know, assistant comes, or that's when the right, you know, partnership shows up, whatever it is, or invitation, or, you know, so it's a lesson in trust and surrender, because especially in this whole online business world, right, there's so much noise, and there's so many people telling you, do it this way. And I find that anybody who is teaching anything that is at a pace that's faster than my own is not for me. So I have to come back to my heart and, okay, are they teaching in this speed? Because this is the speed that I move in. And it's a slower build, perhaps, but it's one that is nourishing and sustainable.
Yeah, you dropped something very big just now. To do things at your own speed that's nourishing for you and loving for you, which kind of comes back full circle to self-love. Yeah, and then it's sustainable.
Yeah. And I didn't start my business that way. I definitely started, I had the love and the connection and the desire, but I actually burnt out my adrenals because I followed this model of this is how you have to do it, and it has to be this fast and this pace, and I just pushed really hard for 3 years and wiped myself out. And that's actually why I ended up moving to Bali for 2 years, just to nourish and reset and come back to myself. And then from that moment on, I moved here in 2011 and left in 13. And so that 2-year period was like, okay, now it has to be done in a different way. It has to be done in a sustainable way.
Wow, we have a very similar story. I also burned myself completely out, and I had to take exactly 2 years to just let go of everything and learn how to do things with ease. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we started with the same template, didn't we?
Oh, I just so appreciate you, Lisa. Oh my God, you speak my language in so many ways. So tell us about your free gift. What are you offering to our audience?
So I work primarily with women who are single who want to be in relationships. So the gift that I have is it's called Clear Your Blocks to Love, and Clear Your Energetic Blocks to Love, although the URL is clearyourblocks-to-love.com. And it's one of the tools that I teach on how to let go of a particular block that's in the way. And for us, for women, it's often holding on to there's often a holding on to something old, an old love, an old crush, an old story. And so this is a gift to help you clear that old so that you can make space for someone new, for a new partner in your life. And if you're in a relationship, this actually will serve you as well. You'll find that when you are still holding on to something old, it blocks your intimacy and connection in relationships. So this gift is for women single or in relationship. It's geared definitely towards single women, but I have many women in relationship who use these tools as well.
Thank you. Thank you for offering that. I want to reiterate again that I see fulfillment as like a holistic model of allowing relationship be part of the fulfillment and be the nourishment, be the encouragement, be the catalyst for even more greatness in the world. So to include this, I'm really glad you came to the summit to include this important part of life, which is intimate, significant relationship, and how to let that be healthy and thriving, so then you're supported and can thrive in your biggest dream and biggest mission on the planet. So thank you for bringing it. I think this is definitely an important piece.
We all have a deep yearning for love, to be seen, to be loved, to be witnessed, to be connected. It's human natural desire, and I think it's meant, we're meant to fill that and to feel that way, and the way to get there is through this fullness and connection in yourself first.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the meditation it took us through. I hope people can keep coming back to it and exercising it. And your gift is right underneath the video. So I hope everyone just clicks into it and receives this opportunity to deepen their openness to receiving more love.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Julie. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you to everyone watching this and listening to this. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And for now, I'm going to say bye.